देवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So, welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam thematic series, the Narada Vyas Samvad. So, we had completed the fourth chapter where, seeing in such despondent state, Narada arrives. The fifth chapter is the conversation between Narada and Vyas, as Srila Prabhupada titles it as Narada instruction to on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasdev. So, we began. Discussing the fifth chapter in the last class. Yesterday we could not have a class because I was traveling. Sorry for that. So first of all, Narad is properly seated. Sukhamasina Upasinam and Devarishi Praha Viprarishi. So Vyas Viprarishi spoke to the Devarishi after worshipping him. And then Narad points out, are you satisfied with identifying yourself with the body or the mind? You know, and then you had already composed the Mahabharata. So it's not because of your lack of knowledge. And then you had composed what? The Vedanta Sutra, Brahm Yat Tat Sanatanam. But still you're lamenting. Still you're lamenting. Then Vyas admits his dissatisfaction. And you can find the root. Tan moolam avyakta agada bodham prachami tvamatma bhavatma bhutam. Just like in Ayurveda, you go to the root of the disease. So please go to the root of the disease because you are agada bodham. You know the imperceptible reason because you have fathomless knowledge, great knowledge, because you're born from the self-born Brahma. And then what is your quality? You know samasta guhyam because you worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is who creates, maintains, and destroys this world along with the gunas. And you are like what? You are like Arkiva Trilokim. You're like the sun who can see everything. Antascharo Vayur Iva Atma Sakshi. You're the witness in everyone's intelligence. So, although I'm very proficient in the Vedas, and I've realized Brahman, but it is not enough. What is the reason? Then Narad starts speaking. So Narad reveals to Vyas the importance of describing Krishna's pastimes. This is the section we started the discussion in the last class. And he points out Bhavata Anudita Prayam Yasho Bhagavato Malam Ye Naivaso Na Tushyate Manne Tad Darshanam Kilam. Yes, you're not sufficiently glorified the wonderful activities of Vasudev, of Krishna, the spotless. And that's why although you have composed the Vedanta Sutra, still you're feeling dissatisfaction. And you have given a lot of emphasis to what? Yata dharma adayascha charta muni varna anukirtita na tata vasudesa mahima he anuvarnita. So you have given a lot of importance to dharma, artha, kama, and moksha compared to Vasudeva and Bhakti. So that reasoning and all we saw both Prabhupada and how Vishnu Thakur explains. So now we'll continue this discussion. Narad's further instruction to Vyasadeva. These two verses are very, very famous. Here, Vyas little, Narada little, you can say, chastises his disciple, Nayadvachas chitram padam yareresho jagat pavitram pranagita karhichit tadvayasam te tam mushanti manasa nayatra hamsa nirmat uchikshaya. So these compositions of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, they are like Vayasam Tirtha, the pilgrimage places of crows. Works whose attractive verses, Yad Chitra Padam Vachas, very, very attractive in terms of alankara, ornaments, and metaphors, similes, you know, do not sing at all. Na karhichet pragranitaha. The glories of the Lord Hare Rasho, which purify not only the author but the whole world. Jagit Pavitram are considered Tadushanti by the devotees who have captured the mind of the Lord Manasa to be the place of crows. Vayasam Tirtam. So he is very heavy of his, a very critical review of his works of Vyasdev. uh, his spiritual master Narad Muni is giving, very critical view. He compares all his works on Dharma, Artha, Kama is all like Vayasam Tirtham, in which the swans living in pleasant lakes, Yatra Ushikshayam Hamsa, take no enjoyment alone. Niramattaya. So the Hamsas are the Paramahamsas who are worshipping, who have captured the Lord in their heart. So they don't take pleasure in these dharma, artha, kama, moksha, which is like pilgrimage for crows. So Prabhupada in the purport compares, there are these two types of birds, and birds with the same feather flock to each other. There are two types of these mentalities Prabhupada brings out. Crows and swans are not birds of the same feather because of their different mental attitudes. So the crows, if you observe crows, this is, something which is Shabda given in the Shastra, you can see Pratyaksh also. Pratyaksh, you can see crows takes pleasure in refuse. I remember many years back, it is a very nasty example, but it is a fact that I was sitting in a bus and somebody vomited, and that vomit, the crows were coming and, eating it. So this is, sense gratification is taking pleasure, something like that. Prabhupada also makes that point. So the crows and swans, although they are the same birds, they are the birds species, but they have different mental attitudes. The fruity workers or the passionate men are compared to crows, whereas the all perfect saintly persons are compared to the swans. So the karma kandis, and today there are no karma kandis or nishkam karma yogis, they are only, karmis, sense gratifiers. So they are compared to crows, and the sadhus are compared to hamsas are compared to the swans. The crows take pleasure in a place where garbage is thrown out, just as passionate workers take pleasure in wine and women and places of gross sense pleasure. So crows take pleasure in such garbage. So fruity workers take pleasure in dirty enjoyment, which is material sense gratification. The swans do not take pleasure in places where crows are assembled for conferences and meetings. Again, Prabhupada is very heavy here. They are instead seen in atmosphere of natural scenic beauty, where there are transparent reservoirs of water nicely decorated with stems of lotus flower in variegated colors of natural beauty. So this is where the swans take pleasure. That is the difference between the two classes of birds. So Prabhupada brings out the difference between the two classes of birds. And then Prabhupada, that example of the crows and the swans, he now brings it to the mentality of human beings. Nature has influenced different species of life with different mentalities, and it is not possible to bring them up into the same rank and file. Similarly, there are different kinds of literatures for different kinds of men of different mentality. Now, Prabhupada says, mostly the market literatures which attract men of crows categories are literatures containing refused remnants of sensuous topics. So he compares this to now in the market, nobody studies Dharma, Artha, Kama literatures. It's only, mundane literature, you can say. They are generally known as mundane talks in relation to gross body and subtle mind. They are full of subject matter described in decorative language of full of mundane similes and metamorphical arrangements. Yet, with all that, they do not glorify the Lord. Such poetry and prose on any subject matter is considered decoration of a dead body. Bhakti Hinasya. I know there is one shloka in the, I don't remember which, the Hari Bhakti Suhodaya. Huh? Uh, Bhakti Hinasya Mandanam Lokaranjanam. It's like a decoration of the dead body. I don't recollect the words now. Spiritual advanced men who are compared to the fans do not take pleasure in such dead literature, which are sources of pleasure for men who are spiritually dead. These literatures in the mode of action and influence are distributed on different levels, but they can hardly help the spiritual urge of the human being, and thus the swine-like spiritually advanced men have nothing to do with them. Such spiritually advanced men are called Manasa because they always keep up the standard of transcendental voluntary service to the Lord on the spiritual plane. So, this is a beautiful definition of Manasa. Manasa means one whose mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord. Savayamana Krishna Padaravendayo. They completely this completely forbids fruitive activities for gross bodily sense gratification or subtle speculation on the materialistic, egoistic mind. Now Prabhupada mentions the categories: social literary men, scientists, mundane poets, theoretical philosophers, and politicians who are completely absorbed in material advancement of sense pleasure are all dolls of the material energy. Now we saw recently, how catastrophes happen at any moment you're knocked off from your existence and you're lost in oblivion. So we are under the tight grip of material nature. Anytime death can come and destroy all our plans. So we are just dolls in material nature. They take pleasure in the place where rejected subject matters are thrown. According to Sridhar Swami, this is the pleasure of prostitute hunters. Very heavy statement. But literatures which describe the glories of the Lord are enjoyed by Paramhamsas who have grasped the human essence of human activities. So the two types of literatures are compared to those two types of people with different mental attitudes, the Manasas and the Vayasas, the swan-like and the crow-like. And the crow-like take pleasure in sensuous topics, remnants, whereas the Manasas take pleasure in glorifying the Lord. Vishwanath Chakra Thakur. Vishwanath Chakra Thakur practically mentions the same. Prabhupada elaborates his purport basically in the modern context. Even poetic works should be condemned if they are devoid of glorification of Vasudeva. A work whose verses do not proclaim the glories of the Lord, which purify even the world composed of speakers and listeners. What to speak of the other is actually like a dead body. Prabhupada makes the same statement. It is very impure without describing the glories of the Lord, which are like life itself. even though it may be endowed with qualities and poetic ornaments, Chitrapadam, and it is also a cause of surprise or dismay. Another of Chitra. Chitra means you become, mesmerized by the narration, of the different descriptions. It is considered to be Ushanti, a place for crows, a hole filled with various leftover foods, which is desired by persons filled with lust who are like crows. So, leftover foods. You can see leftover foods, only crows go there. It is a place where the just a second. I will meet you all, and if there is need, then you can raise your hands for questions. For those words, since they don't find pleasure, Manasa can mean, there's another meaning. Those who destroy, Sa, respect, Man, for those words, since they don't find pleasure in them. Or Manasa can mean the mental sense of Brahma, such as the Kumaras. The Kumaras proclaim Manasa Ushanti this. Ushik means pleasant and Shaya means lake in the case of reference to swans, or it can mean abode. So Ushik Shaya. Ushik means pleasant and Shaya means the abode, whether swans are there or the Lord's abode. Thus, Ushik Shaya means those possessing the abode of the Lord. So those whose consciousness is fixed in Vaikuntha consciousness. This would refer to the Kumaras who are free from to enter the Lord's abodes. So those who are Manasa Hushanti, Ushikshaya means those who are fit to enter into the Lord's abode. The word Vacha means statements, what is spoken. Nayad Vachas Chitra. Therefore, statements like the following would appear to make Bhagavatam a place for crows. So, in the Bhagavatam, there are statements, and those statements might appear as place of crows. What? Nabhago Nabhagapatyam Yam Tatam Bharata Kavim Yavishtam Vyabhajanam Dayam Brahmacharinam Agatam. The brothers, Bhradara, gave Vyabhajanam to their youngest learned brother Nabhaga. Yam Vashishtam Kavim Nabhaga Patyam. Their father Nabaga Tatam as a share of property Dayam when he returned from Brahmachari land. Brahmacharina Agatam. And it may argue that none of the Puranas written by Vyas should be considered as a place of prose, since nothing there is completely devoid of the glories of Lord. So there are two things. Firstly, please try to understand these two statements. Now, this is a verse from the ninth canto, when before, or after, I think. One second, let me see. I exactly don't recollect. It is after Amrish Maharaj pastime it is coming, or yeah, correct. So the dynasty of Amrish Maharaj is being described, and these verses, they are not directly glorifying the glories of Krishna. So are they these verses places of crow? No. So somehow they are directly related to the pastimes of the Lord or the pastimes of his pure devotees. So we should not consider that these verses of the Bhagavatam, which not directly relate to extolling the glories of the Lord, to be places of pilgrimage for us. So this is the first thing. That's why he quotes this. You know. So this is first thing to be understood. Second, and it may argued that none of the Puranas written by Vyas should be considered as a place of prose, since nothing there was completely devoid of the glories of the Lord. So there are other Puranas like the Skanda Purana and the Padma Puran, where there is, Dharma, Artha, Kama more emphasized also, but there is also glories of the Lord. Krishna Lila is there discussed. So are these to be all taken as places of pilgrimage of crows? To this, however, it can be said, Kalimala Samhati Kalano Akilesho Hariritra Nagiyantihi Abhikshanam Iha to Punar Bhagavan Sheshamurti Paripantino Nu Padam Kata Prasange. Narayan, the soul of the universal form, Harir Akilesha, who annihilates the accumulated sins of Kali age. Kali Mala Samhati Kalana is not glorified much in other works. Itara na giyate hi abhikshana. But Bhagavan with unlimited forms, Asheshamurti, is abundantly and constantly Punar described throughout. Pari Patino no Anupadam. Anupadam means constantly, the various narrations in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Katha Prasange. So this is in the 12th canto, 12th chapter, where the glories of the Bhagavatam are brought out. So this verse from the Bhagavatam is reconciling these two statements. One is regarding the Puranas, there is glorification, but in the Puranas there is no glorification abundantly, constantly, and there are no various narrations of the Leelas. Here and there, some Leelas are mentioned. So that is why the other works of Vyasdev are to be considered as places of pilgrimage of crows, first. Second, although there are descriptions in the Bhagavatam which might be not directly related to the glories of the Lord, but since they are somehow connected in the narration, so we should not consider these statements to be places of pilgrimage of crows. So that is how we need to understand and reconcile these statements. I hope it is very clear. Taking this verse and the next verse in the Bhagavatam into consideration, the word vacha should mean the general import of the discussion rather than each sentence. So here again, he's making it very clear. That being the case, the chapters and the stories of Bhagavatam are all ornaments to the glories of the Lord. So all these chapters about, you know, are all ornaments and glories of the Lord. In other Puranas, however, many of the stories are devoid of the glories of the Lord and therefore the places of the crows. So that's why all other works except Purana Bhagavat. Thus, there is no contradiction. I hope this purport is very clear. I will take this verse and both two verses together. If we have questions, then I will take up. Nayadvachas, tadvag visargo, janataga viplavo, yasmin pratishlokam abhadyavatyapi, namani anantasya yasho ankitani yat, shrunvanti gayanti grinanti sadhava. The use of the words in which tadvag visargo, though not perfectly composed, yasmin pratishlokam abhadyavatapi, there are the names of the Lord, Namani Anantasya, and description of his glories. Yat Yasho Ankitani, which devotees hear, sing, and again receive. Shunvanti Gayanti Grananti Sadhava, destroy the sins of all people. Janata Aga Viplavo. It creates a revolution. Prabhupada says, Viplava means it creates a revolution in the heart. And what is this revolution? The revolution is there have been many, many revolutions in this world. but there is no movement or revolutionary movement which can transform the hearts, by which people who are naturally inclined to do, sinful activities stop, can stop. It is the qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst. So Prabhupada is quoting actually Chanakya Pandit here. Hmm. So, because this verse is saying that what? It is saying, Yasmin Prati Shlokam Abhadyavatapi. But it is filled with Namani Anantasya Yasho Ankitani. And this is what? It's sung, heard, accepted, and this can cause, you know, Agaviplava, Janata Agaviplava. So that's why Prabhupada quotes first this qualification of great thinkers to pick the best even from the worst. And then he gives the example. It is said that the intelligent man should pick up nectar from a stalk of poison, should accept gold even from a filthy place, should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, and should accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from untouchables. These are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. But a saint is far above the level of an ordinary man. He is always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change. And as a result of propagating the transcendental literatures of Srimad Bhagavatam, people will become sane in their transactions. So, this is what Bhagavatam can do. Prabhupada is going to speak about Bhagavatam here. While preparing this commentation on this particular stanza of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a crisis before us. Prabhupada is speaking about the Indo-China war. Our neighboring friend China has attacked the border of India with a militaristic spirit. So Prabhupada is giving an example during his times. So you have to understand the examples in the context of Prabhupada's time. And today, we can see the necessity of propagating this Bhagavatam. We have been seeing the Russia-Ukraine war, then the Hamas-Israel, now the Israel, Iran, and we have seen already the Indo-Pakistan, in India-Pakistan conflict, Operation Sindhu. So you can see so much of conflict and tension is going on, and there is so much of militaristic spirit going on. And the solution Prabhupada is saying is Srimad Bhagavatam. We have practically no business in the political field, yet we see that previously they're both China and India, and they both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in an atmosphere of God consciousness, and every country over the surface of the world had God fearing, pure hearted, and simple, and there was no question of political diplomacy. They were simple, pure hearted, and they were God fearing. There was no cause of quarrel between the two countries, China and India, over land which is not suitable for habitation, and certainly there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of Kali, quarrel, which has we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. So in Kali Yuga, you just need a very slight provocation, and then it comes in the news. That is Kali Yuga. This is due not to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of this age. Systematically, there is a propaganda by the section of people to stop glorification of the name and fame of the Supreme Lord. So these are the atheistic people. Therefore, there is a great need of disseminating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. So Prabhupada says the more there is opposition to the movement, the more the successful the movement is. It is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of the Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. So Prabhupada is handing on this responsibility to the Indians, especially because that's what Mahaprabhu mentioned, Bharat Bhumite Janma Hole, Janma Sartakari Kara Paropakar. So now please hear this reasoning. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsibility, there is so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. So now you can just think over and tell me Why there is so much of quarrel and conflict all over the world? What is the reason? Who is to be blamed? Who is to be held responsible for this? According to Prabhupada, who will answer this? Who is to be blamed for this? Shubha Ekshana Krish Prabhuji. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhupada is trying to say this for Indians itself because we didn't preach to the world the whole philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and Shrimad Bhagavatam.
Yes. So the onus is on us. So we have to take responsibility. We are confident that if the transcendental message of the Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be change of heart and naturally the people will, in general, follow them. The mass of the people in general are tools in the hands of the modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there is a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature conveying transcendental messages for reviving the God consciousness of the people in general and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere is fraught with many difficulties. So Prabhupada had difficulty explaining the original Sanskrit bhavas and meanings in English language. Hmm. Our presenting this matter in inadequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail, and there will be so many literary discrepancies despite our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. But Prabhupada says not I, and here also he doesn't say I know that we, he says. Actually, we is plural here, but actually it is singular, and it is a sign of humility. Please remember that. But we are sure that with all our faults in this, all my faults, no? Our fault, Prabhupada says, in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of the society will accept this due to its being an honest attempt in glorifying the Almighty God. And Namani Anantyasya Yasho Ankitani Yat. When there is fire in a house, the inmates of the house go out to help, get help from the neighbors who may be foreigners, and yet without knowing the language, the victim of the fire expresses themselves, and the neighbors understand the need even though not expressed in the same language. The same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast this transcendental message of the Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the polluted atmosphere of the world. So Prabhupada example is very, very apt. Prabhupada himself had a very, very heavy Bengali accent. Although he did his education in the Scottish British College and he very well knew English, but it was heavily Bengali accent. Then the initial students, had a lot of difficulty to grasp what Prabhupada is saying in English. First of all, the philosophy, the terms were difficult, but they could just see that this sadhu is sincere and he's our well-wisher. He sincerely is wishing well for us. So they could understand Prabhupada's heart and then they just sticked on to it. So that spirit of cooperation is required. That's what Prabhupada is saying. After all, it is a technical science of spiritual values, and thus we are concerned with the techniques and not with the language. So it's basically a technique of how to implement these spiritual values. If the techniques of this great literature are understood by the people in the world, there will be success. There will be success. Now, last paragraph. When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there is no wonder that a person or a nation attacks another person or nation on slight provocation. This is the rule of this age of Kali or quarrel. The atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. So we know the problem of corruption, especially in the third world countries, and even in the first world countries, it is there. There are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. In many countries, there are bodies appointed by the state to detect and censor obscene literature. This means neither the government nor the responsibilities of the public want such literature. Yet it is in the marketplace because the people want it for sense gratification. Mind you, today so many rape cases are happening all over the world, and in India also it has become rampant. The figures are escalating like anything because of all these kind of movies, TV serials where there is so much of obscene scenes, and people become lusty and then they commit these kind of sinful activities. The people in general want to read, that is a natural instinct, but because their minds are polluted, they want such literatures. Under the circumstances, transcendental literature, the Srimad Bhagavatam, will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but also it will supply food for the hankering after reading some interesting literature. So it will fulfill the hankering of the soul. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy, but we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for jaundice. So Prabhupada is quoting that Syat Krishna Madi Sitopita Sitopta Titaptas na ruchikan kintu agarat anudinam kalusaiva jushta swadvi kramat tada mula gata hantri. So he's quoting that. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. So please first understand that this systematic propagation of reading of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam should be done first in the devotee circle. And then we should introduce systematic courses for the people in general. When men have a taste for this literature, the other literatures which are catering poison to society will then automatically cease. I know a personal example myself. One time, one of our devotee from Delhi had come along with his son to admit in Belgaum in an engineering college. So I also went and we met the principal, and I invited the principal to come to our temple to visit. And the principal, along with his wife, came, and I happened to visit their home also. And they had, these different Britannia encyclopedia, this encyclopedia, all these big, big books, 20 volumes, 40 volumes, you know, and they were costing 45,000, 1 lakh. So then I just commented, no, you should have the Bhagavatam. It's an encyclopedia of this entire universe. So they were inspired and they came to the temple and picked up the Bhagavatam set. Of course, the principal was very busy. He was a principal and also he was guiding students in his in their PhD thesis. And somehow the wife, who was also a lecturer, started reading the Bhagavatam, and she finished 9 cantos. And once I visited her, she said, these books are very nice and I'm reading them. But can you tell me one thing? Something has happened to me that since I've started reading this Bhagavatam, I have stopped reading all other books. So this is how Bhagavatam acts as a medicine. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults. Abhadra Vatati, for it is recommended by Sri Narad, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter. So very, very beautiful commentary, Prabhupada. Okay, let's take Vishwanath Chakra Thakur's commentary and then we will take up questions. Having expressed the negative side, via Samtirtham, now the positive is expressed. The production of the use of words or stories, Tadvag Visarga, which destroy the sins of all people, which are sometimes composed strictly and sometimes carelessly, but with sparse ornaments in the verses, Pratishlokam Abhadan, contain names and descriptions of the Lord glories. So, all that how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Prabhupada, any newspaper clipping with something to do with some critical thing about the Hare Krishna movement, and they would judge the article good or bad based on how many times the word Krishna, Hare, and Rama is mentioned. You know, so based on that, you know, but if it is containing the glories of the Lord, people will get purified. The devotees hear and having heard sing and having sung again, they hear since they are not fully satiated. Or if a speaker is present, they hear the glory, Shunvanti. If a hearer is present, then they speak the glories, Grananti. And otherwise, they spontaneously sing the glories, Gayanti. Sridhar Swami explains that Avati can also mean ungrammatical language. So these are the very two important verses uh, which are very, very important. And before I now go to next verse, any questions you have about these two verses? First, I would like to take that. Any questions, any clarifications? One hand has been raised, but whose hand it is, I'm not able to see that. This may be mine only, or what? Okay, yeah. Yeah, anyone has any questions about these two verses which we discussed? Any questions, any clarifications? Any questions or clarifications? No. Okay. So now let's go into the next verse. The next verse is also very, very famous verse and quoted many times by Vishnu Chandra Thakur. नैष्कर्मण्यप्यच्युत भाववर्जितं न शोभते ज्ञानमलं निरञ्जनं कुतः पुनः शाश्वतभद्रमीश्वरे न चार्पितं कर्म यद अकारणम्. Even the stage of jnana without the bondage of karma. Naishkarmyam jnanam appya. So Naishkarmyam is a stage where by practicing Nishkam Karma Yoga, one purifies the heart, the jnana will burn the sins, and he'll become what is called as a jnana nishta, where one is not inclined to do karma at all. One is free from bondage. From there onwards, one takes up to the one is on the stage of jnana and he takes up to the jnana sadhana. So even one has attained Naishkarma is not glorious, no Shobhate, if it is devoid of bhakti to the Supreme Lord. Achyuta bhava varjitam. That means jnana without the element of bhakti is useless. So here, even the processes, karma kanda, sakama bhakti, karma kanda without any bhakti in it is useless. Nishkama karma yoga without any bhakti is useless. That's what this verse will bring out. What is the use of having destroyed? Ignorance. Alam niranjanam. Because he has attained Naishkarmya. What then to speak of Sakam karma, which causes suffering both during practice and at the stage of fresh? Kuta puna shashvatam abhadra. So Sakama karma is done with the desire for fruits. So this is what even during practice it is very troublesome, and when you get the fruit also, it's very painful. And Nishkama karma yad akaranam when not offered to the Lord. Ishware na charpita. So here both Sakama karma without being offered to the Lord, that means no bhakti element in it, is useless. Nishkam karma yoga without being offered to the Lord is useless. So this is what it means. Let's take Prabhupada's commentary. As referred to above, not only ordinary literatures devoid of the transcendental glorification of the Lord are condemned, but also Vedic literatures and speculations of the subject of impersonal Brahman when they are devoid of devotional service. Achyuta bhava arjita. So ordinary literatures here, Prabhupada is speaking about mundane literatures, but in the general context, it refers to Vyasadev's composition of Dharma, Artha, Kama literatures like the Mahabharata and all other works. When speculation of the impersonal Brahman is condemned on the above ground, what to speak of ordinary fruity work which is not meant to fulfill the aim of devotional service? You know, Sakam karma or Nishkam karma without any bhakti. Such speculative knowledge and fruity work cannot lead one to the goal of perfection. Fruity work, in which almost all people in general are engaged, is always painful either in the beginning or at the end. So this is same. Vishnu Thakur also is in the word to word translation is making the same point. It can be fruitful only when made subservient to the devotional service of the Lord. So that means if there is a bhakti element with the goal of attaining bhakti, then it is useful. In the Bhagavad Gita also it is confirmed that the results of such fruitive work may be offered for the service of the Lord. Otherwise, it leads to material bondage. So which verse of the Bhagavad Gita Prabhupada is quoting here? Anyone? Why is the hand, whose hand is being raised here? I don't know. One more hand. Okay, Bir Krish Prabhu has raised his hand. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. That is Yagyarthat Karmano Nitra Lokayam.
Lokoyam Karma Dundana. Yes. The bona fide enjoyer of the fruitive work is the personality of Godhead. And thus, when it is engaged for the sense gratification of the living being, it becomes an acute source of trouble. So, Prabhupada is brief. Let's see Vishwanath Thakur. Not only are the words important, Vacha, if there is no bhakti, the work is useless. So heavy condemnation. you know, the words which are not containing the glories of the Lord, is heavily criticized. What to speak of the words? Even if there are works which there is no bhakti involved in it, it's completely useless. No bhakti. The realization coming from the words of the Vedas is useless without bhakti. What to speak of mere scriptural knowledge and what to speak of nishkam karma. And so much more. Sakam karma is useless without bhakti. Even knowledge devoid of the fruit of intention does not appear wonderful without bhakti, in which one thinks of the Lord, has who has no a form of knowledge and bliss, Achyut Bhava. So this is Brahman realization. Even if bhakti is present in Gyan and one thinks that the Lord and bhakti are mixed with Maya, then that does not produce liberation. So, in the path of Gyan Yoga, there has to be first thing the element of bhakti. And the Gyan sadhana is not going to give the fruit of liberation. It is the bhakti element which is there in the Gyan which will give the fruit of liberation. First thing. Secondly, in that Jnana sadhana, if there is mixture or misconception of our understanding that this bhakti is Maya, the Lord's form is Maya, then it will not produce liberation. Though devoid of ignorance, Niranjanam, though one has realized knowledge, what is the use of that knowledge? So even a Jnani, even to the level of a Jivan Mukta, you know, Anadrita Yushmadangre Patanti Adha. That is what Ye Anya Arvindaksha Vimukta Maninas it is said. Na? That was 10 to 30 or 31, I think. Then what to speak of unrealized scriptural knowledge? That is the Sakam Karnis. One should not say that you can achieve liberation just by destroying ignorance. By the inconceivable energy of the Lord, the destroyed ignorance once again arises. The avidya which is destroyed, it again comes. And Vishwanath Thakur quotes the Parishishta Vachanam of the Vasana Bhashya says, Jivan Muktapir Punarbandhanam Yanti Karmabhi Yad Achinta Mahashakto Bhagavad Aparadina. Even the liberated persons, Jivan Muktapi, I mentioned, na, even the Jivan Mukta become fall down. Again get bound. Punarbandhanam Yanti by karma be if they commit offense against the Lord. Yadi Bhagavata Aparadina, possessor of great inconceivable powers. And then further he quotes, there it also says, Jivan Mukta Prapadyante Kvachit Samsara Vasanam Yogina na Vilipante Karmabir Bhagavat Para. Liberated souls, Jivan Mukta, sometimes are subjected Kvachit Prapadyante to birth and death, Samsara Vasana. But the yogis who surrender to the Lord, Bhagavat Para Yogina, are not touched by karma. Na Vilipyante Karmabir. Thus, the effect of jnana is destruction of karma. So, what is the effect of jnana? Destruction of karma. And Vishnu Chakrathakur quotes this Jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute Arjuna. Arjuna, by the fire of knowledge, all karma is burned to ashes. So there, these fourth chapter, is glorifying transcendental knowledge, by which when we act in Nishkam Karma Yoga, the glories of that knowledge. But that is not so wonderful, because it is also said concerning Rath Yatra in Vishnu Bhakti Chandrodaya of another Puran. What? He who does not follow Yad Mohat na Anu Vrajanti, the Lord in his chariot when he moves, Vrajantam Jagat Ishwaram, becomes a Brahma Rakshasa, Sir Bhaved Brahma Rakshasa, even though he has destroyed all karmas with the fire of knowledge. Yanadni Dagda Karmapi. So, this Gyan which destroys karma, that's not so wonderful, because by mentioning in the opposite way, one who participates in the Rath Yatra, he will destroy all karmas. But one who does not follow, the Rath Yatra, when it moves, you know, even though he has all destroyed all karmas, but he becomes a Brahma Rakshas. Because even though he has destroyed all karmas in the fire. So if he's a Jnani and he doesn't follow this Bhakti Anga, and he commits aparadh, oh, why you have to follow this? So even though he has destroyed all the karmas by his knowledge, he becomes Bhagavat Aparadhina. That's the point also. It will also be said later, Arur Kuchena Param Padam Tata Patanti Ado Anadrita Yushmadangre. After reaching the height of liberation with great difficulty, that is Jivan Mukta, again they fall down because they do not worship the lotus feet of the Lord. So if a Jnani considers this bhakti as Maya and the Lord's form as Maya, then he becomes Bhagavat Aparadhina. And that bhakti will not bestow him the fruit of liberation. Firstly, you have to understand it is that bhakti element with their Gyan Sadhana practice which bestows the fruit. And if they have misconception like this, then they won't attain liberation. Since Gyan is devoid of real bhakti to the Lord, the offense caused by thinking that the Lord is material is unavoidable. So this is unavoidable, especially in the Gyan sadhana. If such Gyan devoid of bhakti is useless, then what to speak of karma which is filled with desires for enjoyment and which causes suffering, abhadram, at all times shashvat, during practice and at the time of receiving the result. And even if the karma is without the goal of enjoyment, akaranam, because it is not offered to the Lord, it is not successful. It is that karma, nishkama karma yaga, has to be offered to the Lord. Sometimes you know that there are people who are very, very honest and they retire, uh, they do their duties very nicely and they retire. And then they join an organization, some philanthropic organization. They use their experience. Maybe I'm just giving an example, an income tax officer, and he now uses his expertise in some so-called philanthropic organization, and he serves there based on a honorary basis. That means he doesn't take salary. So he is doing his work, he's doing his karma without the desire of fruits. It's nishkama. But please remember, there's difference between nishkama and nishkama karma yoga. Nishkama karma and nishkama karma yoga. It is only called yoga when it is in relationship to the Lord. It's in relationship. So even Nishkama Karma Yoga, which is not offered to the Lord, is useless. So what to speak, that kind of a pious activity is simply material piety. Not even material piety within the fold of the Vedas. Please remember that. Okay, so this was a very important verse which I discussed in detail. So any questions on this? Again, the hand is raised. I don't know why this is happening. Okay, anyway, any questions on this verse which we discussed? Any questions, any clarifications? If there are no questions, then I will take this one verse because that will complete the whole small subsection of discussion. अथो महाभाग भवानमोघधृत् शुचिश्रवः सत्यरत धृतव्रत उरुक्रमस्याखिलाबन्धमुक्तये समाधिना अनुस्मर तद्विचेष्टितम्. Fortunate one, Mahabhaga. Therefore, so Narad is addressing with a lot of great respect to Vyas. Mahabhaga. Atha, therefore. Therefore means after describing the positive and the negative, and then even work without devoid of bhakti, then he is now giving his instruction. So therefore, since you have useful knowledge, bhavan amogdharit, spotless character, suchishrava, dedication to truth, satyavrata, and determined vows, dritavrata, remember with attention, samadhina anusmara, the pastimes of the Lord, urukramasya tad vikicheshtam, and bring about liberation from all bondage. Akhila bandha muktaye. People in general have a taste for literatures by instinct. Prabhupada again is bringing up that they want to hear and read from the authorities something about the unknown, but their taste is exploited by unfortunate literatures which are full of subject matter of satisfaction of material senses. Such literatures contain different kinds of mundane poems and philosophical speculations, more or less under the influence of Maya, ending in sense gratification. These literatures, although worthless in the true sense of the term, are variously decorated to attract the attention of the less intelligent men. Thus, the attracted living entities are more and more entangled in material knowledge without hope of liberation for thousands and thousands of generations. Prabhupada is saying thousands and thousands of generations. Sri Narad Rishi, being the best among the Vaishnavas, is compassionate towards such unfortunate victims of worthless literature, and thus he advises Sri Narad to compose transcendental literature which is not only attractive but also actually brings about liberation from all kinds of liberation. Akhila Bandha Muktaye, all types of bondage. Shivyas Dev or his representatives are qualified because they are rightly trained to see things in true perspective. Amoghadrip Prabhupada is saying. Srila Vyasdev and his representative are pure in thought due to their spiritual enlightenment, fixed in their vows, Satyavrata, Vrata, due to their devotional service, and determined to deliver the fallen souls rotting in material system. Vrata, Prabhupada. The fallen souls are very eager to receive novel information every day, and the transcendentalists like Vyas or Narad can supply such eager people in general with unlimited news from the spiritual world. So that's why there was the Nadia Prakash, everyday newspaper publication by Bhakti Siddhanta Sarita Thakur. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the material world is only a part of the whole creation, and that this earth only is a fragment of the whole material creation. So, where in the Bhagavad Gita is said? Where in the Bhagavad Gita this is said, the statement? Anyone? Let us say. To study the Bhagavatam, we have to also be thorough with the Bhagavad Gita. So, where in the Bhagavad Gita this statement is made? Anyone? No? So, it is 10.42. अथवा वा बहु बहुनेतेन किम ज्ञातेन तवार्जुन विष्टभ्याम idam कृष्णम एकांशेन सितो सगत. So just it is this material world is just a fragment, There are thousands and thousands of literary men all over the world, and they have created many, many thousands of literary works for the information of people in general for thousands and thousands of years. Unfortunately, none of them have brought peace and tranquility on the earth. This is due to a spiritual vacuum in those literatures. Therefore, the Vedic literatures, especially the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, are specifically recommended to suffering humanity to bring about the desired effect of liberation from the pangs of material civilization, which is eating the vital part of human energy. The Bhagavad Gita is a spoken message of the Lord Himself, recorded by Vyasadeva, and the Srimad Bhagavatam is a transcendental rendition of the activities of the same Lord Krishna, which alone can satisfy the hankering desires of the living being for eternal peace and liberation from miseries. Enatma suprasiddhi. Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, is meant for all living beings all over the universe for total liberation from all kinds of material bondage. Akhila bandha muktaye. Such transcendental narrations of the past and the Lord can be described only by liberated souls like Vyas and his bona fide representatives who are completely immersed in the transcendental loving substance of God. So, what is the adhikar of a person to describe? He should be bona fide first, and his consciousness must be absorbed in the Supreme Brahman. Only to such devotees do the pastimes of the Lord and the transcendental nature become automatically manifest by dint of devotional service. Samadhina urukramasya samadhina anusmara tad vicheshtam. These pastimes are revealed in their heart. No one else can neither know or describe the acts of the Lord, even if they speculate on the subject for many, many years. Pantastu Koti, Brahma Samhita says. The descriptions of the Bhagavatam are so precise and accurate that whatever has been predicted in this great literature about 5,000 years ago is now exactly happening. Therefore, the vision of the author comprehends past, present, and future. Amogadrik. Such liberated persons like Vyas are perfect not only by the power of vision and wisdom, but also in oral reception, Suchishrava, in thinking, feeling, and all of the sense activities. So Prabhupada is, Suchi Shrava means, Shrava means to hear also. So they are purified in their thinking, feeling, and willing. A liberated person possesses perfect senses, and with perfect senses, only one can serve the sense proprietor, Rishikesh, Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, is a perfect description of the all perfect personality of Godhead by the all perfect personality Sri Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedas. Vishnu Chakatakur is short and he just gives the qualities. Love for Achit is most cherished by you since it is topmost. Mahabhaga Bhavan. This is attained by chanting and hearing his names, pastimes, the names of Rama and Krishna famous. How are his pastimes attractive to you? Please teach the world about those pastimes. Your knowledge is useful, Amogdrik. Your character is pure, Suchishrava. You are devoted to truth, Satyavrata, Rata, and determined in your vows, Vrata. Remember with fixed attention, Samadhina, the various pastimes of the Lord, which give liberation for people, for all people, and give liberation from all bondage. Akhila Bandha Muktai. The word remember is used because the pastimes appear spontaneously in the pure mind filled with devotion, since they are all self revealing, infinite, most confidential, and impossible to speak or receive by any other means. So, this is received only through the spiritual antenna. The spiritual antenna is the heart, which is very pure. After recollecting the pastimes, please recite them for us. One must also have productive knowledge and pure character. It cannot be otherwise because you are a person with pure eyes, Amogadrit, and with pure ears, Suchishrava. You have seen some pastimes with your eyes and heard some with your ears. And by attached mind, Satya Rata, and determined intelligence, Drita Vrata, you should remember with concentrated attention at this moment some very confidential pastimes which cannot be seen or heard, but which you have observed. After remembering them, please tell them to us. Anusmara is in the second person instead of saying one should remember because of the distinctiveness of the statement. This has something to do with Sanskrit, not to worry. So that you can say a particular section in this section, section 3. So tomorrow we will continue the discussion, and this is a very, very important how Bhagavatam is going to manifest through the instructions of Narad Muni will be brought out in this chapter. So stay tuned. Tomorrow we'll get in touch again. Thank you very, very much. Any questions or any clarification anyone has? Any questions? Any clarifications? No. Okay. So Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.